When the wind blows cold on the shores of Lake Erie, the Queen City moans her sad, lonely song. Her streets are empty, but for handfuls of scattered souls, scurrying to escape the chill. Most are gathered at the warm watering holes that garnish every street corner, offering respite for the weary. The air hangs thick and is warmed by the hot takes that resound from the wooden walls. We find ourselves on the doorstep of such a place, with the champions of mediocrity about to set off on another long-winded journey. The windows are already beginning to fog with the balmy bloviations. As the door creaks open, a rush of warm air ushers the velvet voices of the 716 Sports Podcast.
Hey you, get out of the way because the day is the day we're gonna give you some additional downloadable content, DLC. Again, 716 Sports Podcast. It's us, and we're talking about Wrestlemania 34.
WrestleMania Fleur-de-Lis, if you believe in the new WWE naming convention of these things, where you don't get numbers, you just get signs.
You just get moments and symbols of cities.
Crowd reactions.
We're going to Quebec City, folks. Finally, the Fleur-de-Lis in all of its glory. They're returning to New Orleans, so we're going to talk about that for a little bit. But before we do that, check us out on 716 Sports Podcast on Facebook. Check us out, 716 Sports Podcast on Twitter. And we love the fact that you guys are downloading us. Make sure you check out our recent extended piece that we did, the 716 Sports Chronicles, on former UB wide receiver Alex Newt's. A very cool piece that we did. And we're just trying to give you more bonus content as we continue our journey on the Grandstand Sports Network. And today, a few of us are some wrestling fans. So we decided, why the hell not? Let's talk about the biggest show coming up. Full disclosure, recording on March 26th, card subject to change. But we do believe that we have 14 matches to talk about, so we're going to pound through these pretty quickly. But I know Nick is a huge Battle Royal fan.
I love the Battle Royales.
Yeah. So I should say, this Bill, Jeff, and Nick will be discussing this.
The last time Nick and I were at a Battle Royal together, Shaq came out.
Cool. Look out.
Bar set pretty high for this.
Yeah. Was that when I picked you up and hugged you?
Yes.
When Shaq came out?
Well, they spoiled it because when everyone was coming out at the beginning, they accidentally played 5 seconds of a Shaq-tron. And we're like, what in the hell is happening?
Sometimes that video team on the live events, they have a bit of a struggle at times.
And slightly above that was the realization 10 minutes in was, hold on a second, is that Tatanka?
Buffalo.
Who was not announced and just happened to show up for the first time in years.
Hey, fam.
Didn't get his own entrance, was just in the Battle Royal.
I'm very excited for Tatanka to come out this year.
He thought he was going to finally get revenge on Bobby Lashley. Alas, it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, we're huge wrestling fans. I don't even know if it's closet anymore. Who cares? We can be out in the open about this, I'm pretty sure. We've all been to multiple WrestleManias before. I've been to 2 of them. I went to 23 in Detroit and 30 in New Orleans. Nick?
I went to 32 in Dallas, and I will be this year at 34.
Very good.
And I went to 31 in California and 32 in Dallas.
Beautiful Santa Clara in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it was. We stayed in Berkeley and spent most of the time in San Francisco, and that drive to Santa Clara
not easy.
No, not at all.
Not easy, fam.
Parked on a golf course on the 9th hole, walked across a bridge across a thruway.
Sure.
Because that's what you want to do when you go to a football game.
Go Niners. The New Orleans is like the best city in the world for conventions, the easiest place to walk. So, Nick, you're going to have an absolute blast. And you have what appears to be a 14-match card that is just the most ridiculous thing.
It is insane.
I honestly think going into it, this is the highest expectations I've ever had for any WrestleMania. I think this can be 30. I think this can be 17. I think this can fall into the annals of the greatest of all time, in my opinion, if everything connects, which some of this stuff will not. As we all know, there's always duds, even good duds. Like I think of last year, Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho kind of fell a little bit flat, even though everybody was expecting it to be kind of stealing the show. So yeah, there's always moments like this, but expectations walking in, I think, are sky high for this show. So we're just going to quickly hit up a few of these. Don't really deserve much of our time, and let's start with the 2 Battle Royals. We have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and we have the now known as the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. R.I.P. to the worst pimp of all time, the Fabulous Moolah. Her name was immediately taken off after, really by putting her name on it, you're shitting all over the entire legacy that you've been trying to build up for 2 years. So kudos to WWE, and bigger kudos to Snickers for forcing their hands and taking that horrible wench off the name of this. Let's hit we'll hit the men's first. They're sure spending a lot of time talking about Baron Corbin possibly becoming the first repeat winner of this thing.
Which means 100% sure that Baron Corbin is not going to win this thing.
Good. I think we're all
I'm definitely on board with Baron Corbin not winning this thing.
So as of right now, 5 participants are Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson, Corbin, Mojo Rawley, and Ty Dillinger. I'm willing to bet that one of those 5 is not ultimately holding the trophy at the end of the match.
Unless Gronk comes out again and interferes on behalf of Mojo Rawley, trying to get him over the hump there.
It's interesting you mentioned that name. I do think that there's a possibility that he could show up in some sort of more physical. We're still kind of on the fence with what he's doing with the Patriots. I don't really think he's come out completely and said what he's up to. I think if he's in this match, we can safely assume that he's retired and go Bills. That'll be great. This has always been a launching pad for somebody. Traditionally, 30, the first one, Cesaro won, and he did receive some sort of push. He actually became a Heyman guy real quick after that. We've seen Corbin make his debut and win. We saw this as a solidification of the Big Show's legacy, and last year we saw Mojo. So a mixed bag of sorts with the winner is. But without knowing the full roster, are there any guys that you're interested in looking at? Maybe any NXT call-ups?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's a good opportunity for someone to show up on the card and kind of get themselves noticed. I liked what they did with Corbin. I don't dislike Corbin, I think, as much as a lot of other people do. He's okay.
He's fine.
Yeah. But I like the thought of a guy like, I don't even know which NXT guy I would choose.
See, if you're going to go
like
the Corbin route,
if he loses the night before.
See, I like Lars Sullivan. I think he's going to be in the
yeah.
North American match. I don't think he's going to win. And to me, I think if you're going to bring somebody right up, the problem is that he's been hurt.
Yeah.
And so he's missed a lot of time recently where he would be getting that kind of seasoning. Another guy that you could just immediately put in and just immediately elevate would be, to me, I would think
EC3.
Either EC3, who, again, is also going to be rumored in that North American ladder match, or I was thinking you could go with Aleister Black, but I think that he's going to ultimately be successful and have a nice run as NXT champion at the conclusion. So it's kind of an open-ended thing for me. I don't really know ultimately who they're going to decide, but as I said, I don't think it's one of those 5 guys that we previously talked about. And I could also see them, if the Lashley rumors that we've been hearing about for a long time are true, I could see that this would be the perfect spot for him to come in and just be the boss and kind of come in. But I think what we're saying is that the winner of this is not currently been announced, with all due respect to the legends that are the Revival. So, you know what? I'm going to say Bobby Lashley wins this thing. I'll put a name out there, a bold name. Jeff, Nick, you guys got anybody else?
Johnny Gargano.
That would be amazing.
Interesting.
Oh, my Lord.
He has that big match with Ciampa the night before.
Unsanctioned. He's a logical pick, too. I like that one. Nick?
Big Cass.
Also,
yeah,
okay.
he meant
all
back
right.
then, too.
Big Cass. I think I'm pretty sure he's been cleared. I mean, it's been forever since
The
he's been
rumor
in.
is that he was recently cleared.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty solid chance he's going to be in it at least.
Yeah.
As there's, obviously, they're not going to plug him in. I also like Elias. I don't know if he's ready to be plugged in
anywhere. He doesn't have
anywhere.
a dance partner at this point.
Right.
And doesn't appear to be anywhere near the main card. So, yeah, I think Elias would be a good pick, too. Just kind of further solidifying him as in that second echelon of superstars currently.
Yeah, but I do like Big Cass is coming back and just demolishing everybody in his wake.
Nice. I think all 3 have a real possibility. Next up, we'll go talk about the Women's Battle Royal as well. The inaugural Women's Battle Royal. They're making history once again. We're running out of match. I'm excited for the first ever Women's Inferno match, the first ever Women's Punjabi Prison match, and, of course, the first ever Women's Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal match. Which
yes, a Coal Miners Club.
Coal Miners
Personally
Club.
waiting for the first ever women's Judy Bagwell on a pole match.
The first women's Viagra on a pole match.
The San Francisco 49ers match. Just all the greats. Thank you to Vince Russo.
Dog Kennel.
Yep. Recently departed from from Podcast One Networks. Right now, announced on Raw, all we have is Sasha Banks. We assume that Bayley will join that group, and then basically all the afterthoughts on SmackDown
probably
right now.
Every women's wrestler who is not in one
Becky
of the
Lynch,
other,
Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, Naomi, Natalya, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan have all been confirmed. To me, this is coming down to the culmination of the Sasha Banks Bayley feud, or someone's turning on somebody. I don't know what direction they're going to go in. I think Sasha Banks obviously should be the heel and Bayley should be the face, but they may be going in the reverse of that. It's WWE. You try and figure out the logic there. Go right ahead. I don't know.
It's been interesting storytelling between the two of them where Bayley doesn't know how to react to things. I could totally see Bayley just having enough of Sasha and throwing her out of the match. They have to give Bayley something, or she's gonna become a complete afterthought. She loses everything all the time and is made to look like a complete fool. Doesn't mean that Sasha won't win.
No, but she needs to have something. I agree. Sasha is kind of in the same level, I feel like, as Becky, where they're just sort of, whenever you need to plug them into the main event, you can, but they can also exist due to their talent and popularity kind of elsewhere, and it's really no big deal. So yeah, to me, I just think that there's no way that it's not Sasha or Bayley winning this. I don't think any of the Riot Squad are ready. I don't see either of Absolution coming in. I don't really think that there's anybody down at NXT that you would bring up.
The only name that I think even makes sense if they wanted to go in that direction would be you could plug Shayna Baszler in there. And then you have a built-in story with her and Ronda if you're looking for something for Ronda to do moving towards SummerSlam.
Yeah, there is a rumor already that they're building up for Asuka versus Rousey, which we can kind of talk at least on the fringes of their main card matches. But yeah, you can already build it. I do like the Baszler. I actually think Baszler's been pretty good. There's a lot of people that seem to be down on her. I thought she's actually done a really nice job with Ember Moon. She's in there with Ember Moon, who's awesome, but that's besides the point. I think Baszler looks very comfortable. I think she's looked more comfortable in her appearances than Rousey so far.
Yeah.
Nick, anybody that you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm taking a look at the roster to see like who's not been announced. People.
Mickie James.
Yeah, right. She's probably going to play a large role in the championship match.
She'll
be there.
I think she'll be in this and another.
It'll be interesting to see how many women they pull in and how many they have to pull. How many, if they're doing 20, 25, or 30, like if they have to plug in legends.
I think it's only going
to
be
20
because I think you just did all of those legends at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
and this is such a similar concept. It is a similar concept.
Yeah, that
it would. Like, you can't just roll out Lita and Trish Stratus again, can you?
Lita 100% could be in there again.
Sure. And maybe I'm not saying that they can't be in there, but are you going to do the
nostalgic
thing 2.5 months after doing it?
The novelty of it, certainly the crowd isn't going to be reacting the same way they were when Molly Holly came out of the Royal Rumble. If you do it twice in 3 months.
No. So, I don't know. Vicky Guerrero, this seems like she could just get hurt. I'd be worried about that.
Yeah, when you throw everybody in at the same time, it's a little different than, trotting people out, letting them, outside of somebody like Michelle McCool, who had the most eliminations in the Women's Battle Royal back in January. But I was taking a look at the roster, and outside of, like, your Baileys and your Sashas, maybe Nikki Bella.
Sure.
I think that was, with all the stuff that's going on with them and, promoting the TV show and all of that, I think the only other one that would make sense for me is Nikki Bella. And I would call her my favorite to win.
All right, so Nick's going to go with Nikki Bella. Jeff?
I think it's Bayley.
And I'll just, for the sake of argument, I'll go Sasha. But I think it's a safe bet that's going to be one of those two, in my opinion. So I like where your head's at. All right, we'll next move on to the vacant WWE Cruiserweight Championship, the finals. They've been having a tournament on 205 Live. It's amazing when you let wrestlers wrestle and don't let them rely on their personalities. That how amazing things can be, and that's what we've been seeing recently. The matches have been just absolutely fantastic on this 16-man tournament, and Drake Maverick is already the best commissioner in WWE, and he's been the best one for a while. He's almost doing a Regal, and he's not doing a Regal impression because he's his own guy,
British.
but he's doing exactly what Regal does, which to a higher extent, which I think is awesome. I think he's done a really nice job, and the result of this is A little bit surprising to me, face versus face. You got Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali. I kind of thought Drew Gulak was going to beat Ali, but he didn't. And now two guys that I think, if you're not paying attention to 205 Live, you may not be super familiar with, but these are two guys that are pretty awesome. Alexander having a little bit more cred, I think, than Ali coming up on the indies, but
yeah, the
so
Ring of Honor Cedric run is a little bit more of a
little bit fresher in people's
thing.
mind.
I think they booked it like this because they want to be able to put a match on the card. I love Gulak. I kind of wanted him to be in this. I think they just try to book a match on the card that is how many flips and how many high spots can we get these two guys to do.
Yeah.
And they just picked the two guys they thought could just go in there, run 5 to 10 minutes, and just throw everything they can at the audience and try to catch attention for the show. I like Alexander a lot.
He was the one that was building up to face Enzo Amore before Amore got fired.
Yeah.
It seems like a logical conclusion to say that Alexander would win here. Nick, you disagree with that?
No, not at all. I think Cedric it's been, the path has been paved for him the entire way down. I don't watch a whole bunch of 205 Live, mainly as I work on Tuesday night, so I don't get a chance to watch that or SmackDown, but I definitely think from what I've seen, Cedric Alexander, it's his to win.
Jeff?
Alexander. I think he's been on that path since the Cruiserweight Classic when they really got behind him in the audience, and he came in looking in great shape. He's just been hampered by injuries, and I think he's finally going to get that moment. Yeah,
I say it's clean sweep then. We will all say that Cedric Alexander will be victorious. So building back up the card here, we're going to go to a couple more title matches. Let's talk about the tag team matches. The Raw match is announced. The SmackDown one isn't, but we're pretty sure what it's going to be. We'll start with the announced match. Cesaro and Sheamus. It's The Bar versus Braun Strowman. And TBD. A lot of directions that this can go in. This is for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. Cesaro and Sheamus have done a fantastic job since winning the titles from Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose over the summer. Dominant champions. I think it's about a 7-month run that they've been on, which in modern WWE times is seemingly a lifetime. However, Cesaro and Sheamus have been really flat, and that's disappointing when you throw them up against teams like Titus Worldwide. I mean, they were having some of the hottest matches in the company over the summer. I went to a house show on Sunday night here in Buffalo, and they're not getting any reaction because they're wrestling Gallows and Anderson and Titus Worldwide, and those guys just don't inspire people. Gallows and Anderson inspire people when they're standing next to Finn Balor. And Titus, I mean, it's funny in like some backstage vignettes and stuff, and I enjoy the Dana Brooke edition, but it's not like Apollo and Titus are really inspiring people if they're in-ring work.
It's not Titus and Darren Young and whoever that guy was. I can't think of his name. The guy who made the Kobe Bryant joke.
Yeah, I forget.
Oh, yeah. Who was that? Shit.
Something beside the point.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's really sad to see what's become of Gallows and Anderson, two of the hottest wrestlers in the world before they came here, and now
2 years and they've been neutered
completely,
which
killed.
Sucks. Carl Anderson especially.
Yeah, Carl Anderson's
Gallows
an
is
amazing
whatever,
wrestler.
but I think everybody expects Carl Anderson could go back to New Japan tomorrow and possibly be the guy that beats Okada.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. We got to talk about this match. Who do you think? I mean, there's 3 directions that they can go in. They can have Braun go by himself. They can team Braun with another badass and just mow over everybody, or they can put him with a comedy guy. What direction do you think they take?
I have direction number 4.
Go on.
Which is this match goes on after Alexa loses to Nia Jax, and Braun and Alexa team against the Bar.
Wow. So we're going to actually bring in the mixed match universe into the real world?
They've
confused.
gotten some traction on that.
Have they?
I don't know. I see it
awesome
all
together.
over the wrestling Reddit and everything, and they're doing a ride-along episode together now, and everything was announced. I think they're trying to really push that.
Get these hands. They're absolutely delightful together. I mean,
they are good.
I
agree with that.
And other than Sammy making Becky Lynch almost crack up, but not quite, blaming Philadelphia area bakeries on their loss.
If you need a good laugh today, you can go and watch El Generico and Paul London's PWG interviews, where Generico spends the entire time just getting Paul London a corpse. It's amazing.
Oh, Sammy, we love you. Nick, what direction do you think they take this?
I think they just have 2 monsters. I am sick of Cesaro and Sheamus. I hope they've split up.
I think Cesaro and Sheamus are sick of each other.
Just between them, the 2 of them, and them facing some mix of Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan, or Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose for the last 7-8 months, I could not be happier to see them split up.
That match at the Rumble was so
just
good.
Everything that they've done in every Raw, they've found some way. It's either Cesaro versus Rollins or Sheamus versus Rollins. It's stop.
So who do you think it is?
Big Show.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would say Big Show would be a good way if he's not in the Honor the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Have him come back one last run. Was Braun the one who injured, quote unquote, injured Big Show?
I believe that was his last appearance
when he threw him through the cage. Yeah. So I don't know. That might be an interesting.
He says he's good to go.
Yeah.
And all backstage reports say he's ready. Let me give you one direction of each. I think if it's a badass guy, I think Samoa Joe, if he's healthy, can make a lot of sense here. I don't know if he's going to get cleared or not. And if you go comedy, I think you go, why not go Kurt Hawkins?
He was recently appealing for that on Twitter. I'd like that a lot.
I think Kurt Hawkins as Braun Strowman's team. I mean, Strowman can do whatever he wants. He can be a murder, kill, death machine. He can work the stiffest main event that we've seen in years with him and Lesnar at the Rumble just potatoing each other, or he can do the comedies things and swing giant bases and use novelty items to attack opponents like he did against Elias. So. I'm going to go that I think we're going to all say that Braun Strowman wins this. I'm going to go with Samoa Joe as his teammate. Jeff, who you got?
Realistically, I don't think it's going to be Alexa, although I think that would be awesome.
I don't disagree. That would be fantastic.
I think that outside shot, Mark Henry.
Give him one last round.
Give him one last match. Braun was... Apparently, he was a big part of getting Braun into WWE to begin with. It'll be his Hall of Fame weekend, so you already know he's going to be there. He doesn't have to do anything. You could realistically, it's a foreseeable angle that Strowman just mows through the two of them combined. Mark doesn't have to tag in. He can just be there. I think that would be awesome. Give one less good send off.
So you're going Mark Henry?
Yeah.
All right, Nick.
Strowman and Big Show.
Strowman and Big Show. Very good. All right, tag team match for SmackDown, which hasn't been officially announced yet, but we do believe it will be a triple threat. It will be the Usos. It'll be some combination of the New Day, and it will be the Bludgeon Brothers, who have been gaining steam recently on SmackDown television. A very nice booking job by them, actually building these guys up and, God willing, giving them some momentum for the first time ever in their careers, some extended momentum, I should say. And plus, Luke Harper's from Rochester, and I saw him. He was in studio at a bunch of radio stations that I used to work at in the market. So that was cool to see a hometown boy do good. Usos New Day feud of the year. If we're going WrestleMania to WrestleMania season, it's produced probably the most consistently awesome matches over the last 12 months.
We can critique a lot of things that WWE writing does sometimes in character directions, but man, whoever came up with fixing the Usos 2 years ago, 5 out of 5 star, brilliant. They went from just completely bland faces to
they were Roman Reigns' cousins,
great heel characters.
Yeah, and I mean they did the same thing the New Day did almost in a way where the fans turn them face because they're just so good at what they're doing,
right? And
they're just being themselves. It's everybody. They say the best characters are yourself turned out to 11. We've heard Steve Austin say that. We heard The Rock say that. You take your natural tendencies and you tweak them, and that's what they said. Like. Both of the Usos have said, this is what we wear, this is how we talk, this is who we are, and we're just projecting it through a megaphone now. And it's been super effective. And it's also, I mean, it's produced everything. Like the promo that Big E cut about 2 or 3 weeks ago on SmackDown was, again, the emotion, it makes you wonder, like, why is Big E not the guy that is, contending for world championships at this point? But the New Day, they're such a great trio. They've reinvented themselves a few times while keeping the same. They've kept the same shell of the gimmick together, but they've gone from heels to faces, and just when it looked like they were kind of getting stale, I think the SmackDown turn helped them moving over there, and then this feud that they've had with the Usos has been fantastic. It's really carried the tag team division over there for the better part of a year.
With it being them carrying it over for the year, I can't help but part of me feel like it's getting stale a little bit. Same thing with Cesaro.
If the matches weren't as good as they are, it would feel like Rollins and Cesaro and Ambrose and the Bar and all that stuff too. I think
I wouldn't say stale. I think we're reaching a natural conclusion of this, one way or the other.
Yeah,
and I think that the Usos, who have still not ever had a main card match. They've been with the company for 9 years, 8 years, something like that.
It's been a while.
They still have yet to have a main card match. Finally, it appears that they should and will get some. I would have to think. But I like what they've done with the Bludgeon Brothers. I really do. And I feel like, Nick, as you said, maybe it's time to let some of these other teams kind of take the reins, and maybe you break up the New Day and let, not even, it doesn't have to be anything dramatic, just let them go after singles titles or whatever. Maybe, there's titles over there that these guys can fight over. Mm-hmm. The Usos can kind of not need to be carrying the mantle for a little bit. Harper and Rowan have been around for a long time too, without really any sort of extended title reign or anything. I think, as silly as it sounded off the jump with this gimmick, using sledgehammers without using sledgehammers, I kind of like where they're going with it. So I think the Bludgeon Brothers are going to take the tag titles one way or the other here.
I certainly hope that's the direction they're going. Neither of those other two teams, as you mentioned, really needs those titles to be legitimate.
No,
the New Days and the Usos are
completely
threats,
legitimized themselves.
completely outside of it. If you want people to take the Bludgeon Brothers seriously, even if they only hold it until like 2 pay-per-views from now, or just hold it until SummerSlam and lose it back to the Usos, at least then you legitimize them. You give them a match against American Alpha, Gable and Benjamin, or whoever else on SmackDown you want. They can have a rematch with the Usos. The more competitive, legitimate threat tag teams you have available, the better, especially with a shakeup coming, and who knows if everyone else is going to stay on the same show.
I'm really looking forward to the Bludgeon Brothers versus the Ascension coming up very soon.
Dudes with attitude.
Finally, it happens. So you're going Bludgeon Brothers.
Bludgeon Brothers, yeah,
all right,
for sure.
So that's a clean sweep for the tag titles. All right, next up we're going to talk about the 2 tag team matches that are not involved with titles, but arguably either one of these could be placed in the final spot. We'll start off on Raw. This one is officially announced. Kurt Angle, Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Ronda Rousey comes out at the end of the Women's Royal Rumble to conclude the pay-per-view. She points up to the sign. Everybody assumes that she's going after a championship, and it turns out that she's actually going after the COO and his wife. So, Kurt Angle steps in, one of the all-time great still photos in WWE history. Kurt Angle staring up into the abyss as Triple H is winding up and about to cold cock him. And then Rousey shows off her judo skills of sorts, and the match is official. We have 4 complete unknowns with what it is in the ring right now. I don't know what we're going to get out of it. I think I know what I can get out of Triple H, and I'm fairly confident what I can get out of Kurt Angle. The real wild card to me is when Rousey and Stephanie are in the ring, because it could be perfect. I think it's going to be heavily scripted, but it could get ugly too if things veer off course a little bit.
I think if they're smart, they're just going to keep Ronda and Steph apart basically the entire match.
And just let it
have Ronda chase and Steph keep tagging out the Triple H. And then I think your conclusion is that Ronda finally, if you want to present Ronda as a legitimate badass that the character naturally fits her, once she actually gets her hands on Steph, that match should be over in 30 seconds.
Absolutely. I think what's going to happen is going to be exactly that. And I know from what I've heard, Ronda's been, or what I've read, is Ronda's been doing a lot of training down in Florida. Like a lot.
Secret, more
absolutely, training than anybody with as much experience as she has should be doing. But I think it's more to get, to knock the, Ultimate Fighting Championship style out of her, to move her more into sports entertainment.
To learn how to actually
pull punches and pull kicks and do all of that, so she can be more of an entertainer as opposed to a complete badass, which she still will be, obviously, once she gets into wrestling more tenured wrestlers outside of Stephanie, which I think is a horrible idea for her first match. But
I agree, but
which almost makes me think for some reason somehow Stephanie's might get out of it.
Maybe
if she could have if she gets some sort of clause or some sort of weird things, like I have a someone who's going to sit in for her.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing if she pulled something like that, and like Shayna Baszler comes down or something like that.
I would agree with that.
And that would be like, holy shit, like this is actually going to happen. And then that completely changes the entire way the match goes.
I'm kind of disappointed that's not what's going to happen.
But I
know,
that's
right?
the only way
that's
it
really
doesn't.
good. I like
Yeah,
that.
It's the only way that this doesn't happen. But you can't have Rousey lose her first match.
No,
with
she
all this
absolutely
buildup.
will not lose the first match.
So that's a consensus sweep there. That Rousey and Angle. I mean, it's funny that Kurt Angle's a prop essentially in this. I mean, this is.
I love GM Kurt Angle.
I do. He's just so happy to be there and thrilled that you're here watching.
He's
and
soccer dad Kurt Angle.
He is
Basically.
he really, truly is. The SmackDown tag match that has not yet been announced, but we are assuming will occur, is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, not currently employed by WWE.
It's
Wink,
El
wink, wink, wink.
Generico and Kevin Steen.
Thank you. Versus Bryan Danielson. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. Now, this is essentially dominated the entire 6 months landscape of SmackDown in some way or the other, going all the way back to Owens versus McMahon main eventing Hell in the Cell way back in October that was. So this feud has been going on for a long time, and it just seemed like it was going on and on and on forever. And then one of the coolest moments ever, Daniel Bryan, after 2+ years of being told you can't compete, 4 of the best concussion doctors in the country all say, no, he's good. And boy, did he come out and take some bumps. That
That apron bump was a little scary almost.
Zayn and Owens with a ring apron power bomb and Bryan's throwing drop kicks and doing flips in the corner, and it was amazing to see. It's somebody that loves professional wrestling, more than any of us, and to see Daniel Bryan finally be able to get out there, and he's going to be under heavy scrutiny. He's going to be tested after every match, but as we can tell as of now, this is going to happen.
So, quick thing, I just opened up Reddit on my phone. God knows what is a work and what isn't a working these days. Shane McMahon was hospitalized today with diverticulitis.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
God knows if that's actually
A real thing?
It's on WWE.com. They're certainly not presenting it as storyline. And
Okay.
who knows? I mean, that's what sidelined Lesnar from his ability to fight for a long time.
Okay, so I am seeing that he has been
There's
hospitalized.
an El Generico tweet today.
He
He
has
tweeted for the first time in
Since
years.
2013.
That's great. So Shane McMahon, somewhat breaking news, acute diverticulitis and an umbilical hernia.
So that
Oh.
might change the exactness of the match a little bit. Now, I think the format and the skeleton of the match stays as it is. You get Owens and Zayn versus Bryan and X character. I think certainly it loses a little bit of the luster if Shane is not able to physically compete in that match, although we've seen Shane take all sorts of ridiculous things and injure himself and keep walking, so I think you're going to have to really get a bunch of doctors a time to a bed in the hospital telling him he can't go to that match.
He fell off of a cell, and then the next night his dad's like, good enough. Why don't you run the company?
Yeah. I always remember that the Kurt Angle German suplex through the glass at King of the Ring that didn't break the first time, so he did it again.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah. Repeat the spot. Okay. Well, I'm still I don't know. I'm thinking it's a work. Let's assume that it's a work for now, but obviously, as we said, card subject to change, 13 days out. If it is indeed a tag team match, who do you have, Nick? Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
God, I'd love to see them come out as Steen and El Generico.
It would be the greatest thing.
They're both
ever.
tweeting as Steen and Generico
Generico.
right now.
Right.
So
Now they did run in at a house show on Friday night, I believe, but
As
they
Zayn and Owens.
but they didn't show up after that. So they were not on either the Saturday or the Sunday show. So I don't know.
yeah, I'm going with Owens and Zayn on this one. I think it would. I don't know what it would do for like if Bryan and McMahon won. Like, okay, so what does that do? It's all I could see like Bryan winning, coming back, but I don't know. There's so much time for that. You don't have to win on your first match back.
I'm so torn. I'm scared. If I'm booking that, I'm scared of giving Bryan the win, if no other reason than you're not sure if his body can actually withstand all the physicality of that match. He's gonna, Daniel Bryan's gonna go in there. He's gonna take a couple crazy bumps, and the audience is gonna cringe every second of it because Bryan will not have it any other way. It's a man who once finished a wrestling match after having his retina detached and fought for another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He'll go for anything. I think Zayn and Owens will win. Bryan works well as a character chasing something, as a sympathetic face. He's probably one of the last legitimate faces in professional wrestling.
It's him and Johnny Gargano.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think Owens and Zayn should win, and then they can move on and try to dominate the.
I would agree with
upper
that.
echelons
I
of
actually
the-
do agree with you, Jeff. I like Owens and Zayn. I think you have to keep those guys strong, and they've been your main eventers. Why not throw them a bone? And I think if anybody, Daniel Bryan's like, no, those are guys that need to keep going. So
And also, I'm not a medical professional, but an umbilical hernia is not that big of a deal.
right.
I
Well,
have
and
one.
that I did read
It's not
that
that big
was
of a deal.
contributed to the Zayn and
Making-
Owens attack. So
Right, so that makes sense.
I still think it's kind of a work. All right, we got the 6 big singles titles. Real quick, let's run through these big 6. We're going to go in order of as far as I'm just going in my own interest. So we'll start off with the least of the 6 that I'm interested in. That's the Raw Women's Championship, Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax.
I totally thought you were going a different way with that. I would have loved it if you went a different way.
And well,
Wait, we're just like Roman Reigns right now.
Exactly.
we're not that far away from that either.
All right, good, good.
Bliss versus Jax. So I don't know. Bliss has a mean girl thing. I don't see any way that you've been building up Nia Jax for so long. You kind of
She's gotta
give
win the match.
herself humanity. Bliss has been dominating basically since she'd been called up to the main roster, whether it's been SmackDown or Raw.
Yeah.
Although she was cannon fodder last year for Naomi's homecoming, I see kind of the similar thing right now. To me, it's gonna be Nia Jax, and I kind of hope that she wins rather convincingly. I think that Mickie James is out there, but she's such a foil at this point. She barely matters.
I think it cheapens the win if Mickey is actually involved significantly.
I hope she
Let
takes
Nia
a Samoan
actually go
drop
in.
30 seconds in and is done, and then Jax goes and gets what's hers.
I want to like Nia Jax more than I do. But it's like every time I watch her in a big match,
She's
she
not a
makes
great wrestler.
terrible mistake.
She's not a great wrestler, but they have built her.
It's a good
They've made
story.
It's a good story. They've made her into a sympathetic character, this is what they should have done all along. Like, she's not a monster.
I feel like this
heel.
is a 6-month holding pattern. Like they had this story 6 months ago, and they didn't want to run it until WrestleMania, so they just kind of kept her in a holding pattern. It's
Yeah,
like,
I
wow.
mean, they've kept her in a holding pattern for 2 years now. Like, it's interesting that they're finally pulling the trigger. But I do think Nia Jax wins in this one. What do you
agree.
think, Nick?
I do not agree.
Okay,
Alexa
go
Bliss
on.
is the GOAT. She is the best thing going on
She is
Raw.
the GOAT. From Columbus.
OH.
IO. She's literally one of the best things going on Raw, week in, week out, without hesitation. Every single time she touches a microphone, she's the best in the world at what she does. I honestly think she's going to...
That promo at Elimination Chamber is so good.
Oh my God. I was sitting there, I'm like, is she really doing this? And just completely tore apart everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm also looking farther down the card, and I'm looking at the rest of the matches. There's be a lot of faces that are going to win. A heel's got to win at some point. I honestly think that Bliss is one of the few heels that walks out with
It's certainly a story
with
you
what
can
she came in
continue.
with.
It's certainly a story you can continue.
And this whole Nia, like, you know, Mickey and Alexa turning on Nia just started a few weeks ago.
True. I think it's 3 or 4 weeks old.
They could
So,
easily continue this for a very long time.
I don't disagree with that. That's fine. All right, so Nick will go with Bliss. Jeff and I go with Nia Jax. Next up, we're going to go to the United States Championship. Randy Orton is the champion somehow in this, going up against Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal. And I apologize to Bliss and Jax. This is
actually
by
way,
far,
way,
this
way
sucks.
worse than that match.
I don't really care about any of these. Bobby Roode was the hottest thing in wrestling 12 months ago because of his great theme song, but he never was. The dirty secret about Bobby Roode was when the match started, it wasn't great.
Nick, remember going to NXT in Dallas and the atmosphere of that small building and how it felt like to watch people walk in there?
Yes.
The magic of Bobby Roode, in my opinion, and a lot of these NXT guys who get kind of lost in the shuffle, the Ascension was the same way. They come up in the Vaudevillains. They come up to the bigger arenas and bigger crowds that are more mixed. At Full Sail, you have a lot of just smarky crowds. The crowd at Dallas and all these takeovers is super, super smarky. They know all these guys. They run smaller buildings. It's really loud, and everyone knows what's going on. They get to these big buildings, and they don't explain the gimmicks very well, and people get lost.
Yeah.
I think Bobby Roode is an amazing character. I
Adam
think he's a
Rose.
very good wrestler. And I think it works well with Randy because they work a similar kind of style. But
40-year-old dad style.
basically,
Yeah.
I like Bobby Roode, and I hope he wins the match back because I think Randy got the win to get the Grand Slam, and Jinder is there. Jinder exists.
Do you have anything to add, Nick? How you doing, bud?
I'm sorry, buddy.
That's
I was thinking of something really funny.
Yeah, I know. So am I.
The four of us at the same time. Amazing.
Got that telepathy going.
Yeah. So no, I think Bobby Roode's got to get this. Randy Orton really just needs to figure something out. I don't know.
I thought we can't constantly hearing he's going part-time, then he doesn't go part-time.
I wish he would. I wish he would, do more acting. Do something else, pull a Cena.
I actually really like Randy as a wrestler. He just doesn't wrestle with motivation ever because they keep giving him nothing.
Done the same thing for 16 years now. Yeah. Here's what's going to happen, though. They spent all that time building up Jinder Mahal. This is arguably the worst title match on the card. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to give you the worst result.
Wouldn't be shocked.
Kalas for everybody.
You're talking about heels. Talking about needing some heels to win some matches.
Jinder Mahal is going to walk out as United States champion because WWE hates.
He's going to walk into the greatest battle royal in Saudi Arabia.
Put it down.
That belt.
Give me Jinder Mahal.
I already put it down. Jeff,
Bobby Roode,
and I'm going with Bobby Roode as well.
Very good. Next up, Paul Heyman brings out Brock Lesnar for Roman Reigns. This is the singles match for the Universal Championship.
I wonder what's going to happen. I can't imagine, Bill.
Brock Lesnar's last contracted date is on Friday. As of taping, he's on
Alistair Overeem's already getting himself weighed in for Brock's warm-up UFC heavyweight match.
I'm not saying that Brock Lesnar will never step foot in WWE ring again. I think that this is the last time in 2018 that he steps foot in WWE ring. I think he is
actually not convinced that's a bad thing.
No, I don't either. I think he needs a refresh. It was so awesome. His match against John Cena at SummerSlam
amazing.
Was this incredible thing that we hadn't seen. The way that he was just mowing through people, and then since the Dean Ambrose match 2 years ago, it's just been off.
Yeah, I was in the building for that Royal Rumble Cena Rollins Lesnar triple threat match.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. That was like that first year and a half that he was back. It was amazing, and you're right. Exactly when they lost that whole storyline, they had the great build up, and the match came flat. He never got it back.
A really weird match, and I'm not saying but he was stretchered out for Hossapalooza at SummerSlam 17. Like, even when he's a part of this, it's people are caring about other things that are going on. Roman Reigns is the chosen one, right? Everybody agrees with this?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get an argument from anyone, though.
So I think it's Roman Reigns. And I could see him going over like in a Goldberg over Lesnar-esque style where it's only a few minutes and he kicks out of 2 F5s and then gets up and spears and wins clean in the middle of the ring. And, the boos come down. There's no way that this match can go last, by the way. They can't do it.
We thought that
they
Dallas
can't do it. I know
yeah.
they can't do it. Though.
How long was that match? Like 35 minutes?
Oh gosh, so long.
Roman Reigns.
It was twice as long as Triple H's entrance. If Roman Reigns
wins this match in 7 minutes and kicks the shit out of Brock Lesnar,
that's what I want to happen.
It's better than what we've been getting.
I mean, at this point, I think, and just not to spoil the ending, I think we're all going to assume that Roman's going to win this match.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope that's how they do it. I hope Roman just comes out House of Fire. I thought they've actually done pretty well with his character. The last, at least out the gate. I thought that promo when Brock no-showed or whatever happened was amazing. I thought that's exactly what they needed.
Yeah, I agree. They're trying with Reigns. It's not working.
They just got to do it. They just got to pull the trigger at this point. If it's terrible,
they
just got to run with it. Just keep going.
Yep. IC title triple threat match: Miz, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor. Put the accent over the A. This is three of the best currently going. Remember, Finn Balor's not over. Seth Rollins, since the Royal Rumble, has there been a better wrestler in ring?
No. How great was that gauntlet match?
Gauntlet match was absolutely ridiculous. But not only that, I mean, everywhere.
Everything he does.
The Rumble,
is amazing.
the Chamber. Yeah. I mean, he had one dud, and that was not his fault. That they were put in a dead spot with the Jason Jordan match against the Bar at Rumble right after the match. He got rid of the flame tights. Good move. And other than that, I want to say Seth Rollins should win this match, but I think this is a good chance for Finn Balor to take the IC title. I think there's a lot more meaning behind the Intercontinental Championship than the U.S. Championship right now, and that's because of how great of a heel champion The Miz is.
I'm with you 100% on that, Bill. And I'm just trying to think about. I think either of these three guys could win and be legitimate threats in the mid card.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about which one would they be most likely to kind of give the task of, at least until the 3-month period, until SummerSlam, which one of them would make the most sense to be that dominating mid-card figure.
Yeah.
I think both The Miz and Seth Rollins have very easy, clear paths to face Roman Reigns as champion. I think Seth versus Roman at SummerSlam is the best, most exciting path they can build to, especially with Dean probably being back and being healthy soon.
Yep.
That story writes itself. I kind of like the idea of Balor winning the IC title and him and Gallows and Anderson, to get back to what we talked about earlier, kind of getting back together and throwing people around in the mid-card for a few months.
Nick, thanks for turning that muffler off. Who you got in this?
I've got The Miz going on this one.
You got The Miz?
I just think he's
so good.
And he's so consistent, And
he's the best heel in wrestling, and he has been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
He's so good.
And I love what they're doing with him. I love how he handles it. Between social media and just everything together, he is the complete package.
Yeah.
In terms of in and out of ring presence,
and
nobody does it better.
He does seem to be at his best when he has the championship.
And
so I agree with you in that. I like the pick.
And he also isn't going to. He's not going to get to that. He's not going to face Roman Reigns. Like, this is kind of his ceiling.
Yep. This
was Mr. Perfect's here. This is Kurt Hennig's
and it's perfectly fine with.
And that's okay.
Yep.
Like that. And he says that he's been bringing, prestige back to the IC title, and that's exactly what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to keep doing it.
Yep.
And I hope he does.
I agree. So you got Miz.
I
Jeff,
miss
who do you got?
Balor.
And I got Balor as well. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. Asuka wins the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble. She's a Raw wrestler, but she's going to SmackDown to face off against Charlotte Flair. It's the two best women wrestler in the world at this point. I don't really think there's... I mean, of course, I know you love Miss Bliss, but to me, these are the two best in-ring performers, let's put it that way. I think that I think it's amazing what they have potentially in Asuka just running this thing for a long time. And Flair has, to me, actually had a little bit of a lackluster run. I think it's more that they haven't necessarily been giving her the best opponents, with all due respect to the legendary Riot Squad. But to me, this is Asuka. They're not going to break the streak at WrestleMania in her first go of it. And I think that they're building towards her and Rousey next year. So I think this is the kickoff for that. And because of that, I think Asuka wins the belt.
I completely agree. And I think it allows you to shuffle around the roster a little bit, too. I think Charlotte probably ends up on Raw. And Asuka can be the face of that division.
Yeah.
A lot of fresh matchups by doing so, too.
Yes, I would agree with that. Nick?
No.
You know. Come on, buddy. Really? Go on.
This is how it works.
Okay.
I know fantasy booking, we weren't going to do it, but
give me one.
Do it. Go ahead.
Give me one, bud.
Asuka does not get pinned, but Charlotte wins the match.
Charlotte's going to win the match.
But Asuka will not get pinned.
DQ?
Carmella has the money in the bank.
Going to go to Seth Rollins?
Yes. I think that's how it's going to go, mainly because I don't know.
I forgot that Carmella still has that briefcase.
I think everybody does.
I think it's part of the problem.
Yeah.
They've kind of not pushed that.
Okay.
Well.
So I think that's one way they can have... that's the only way they can have Charlotte win, with Asuka not getting pinned.
So Carmella inserts herself into the match.
Because they just beat the hell out of each other. And somehow,
Finally,
Carmella comes down. Here we go. Let's go. It's WrestleMania. This is my show. It's my time. It honestly could be the second last or third last match on the card.
Yeah.
So she wants to come in and do her thing, walk out with the championship, the biggest stage of them all, and Charlotte pins her.
Wow. I like it.
Thank you.
I like that a lot. So you have Carmella walking out as the champion.
No. Charlotte walking out.
Yeah, Charlotte's still walking out as a failed.
Charlotte pinning Carmella.
Okay,
yes.
Very
the
good.
combination of the Seth Rollins and the Baron Corbin.
I like it. Two more matches.
It's really good.
First one, WWE Championship, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura. This is shout out to all the smart fans out there. This is your match. We've seen it at Wrestle Kingdom before. I can't believe that AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura I still can't believe AJ Styles is in WWE. So sometimes I know he's been around for 2 years now. It's still weird to think that that's AJ Styles from TNA and New Japan that is running the show, and he's basic. Everybody thought he would maybe get buried. Not everybody. I don't think that we thought that he would just get this run where he's just been allowed to be AJ Styles, which is essentially the best in the world, and now he gets to wrestle against a guy who many feel, after a bit of a lackluster start on the main roster, has really found his groove, and they actually pulled the trigger and went with Shinsuke Nakamura winning the Royal Rumble, and now we get our match against AJ Styles. I think this is going to be the best match on the card. I don't think that these guys are going to disappoint. I think they're going to be given 25 to 30 minutes. The question is who wins this. I think this.
You have to pull the trigger on Nakamura here. If you build him up to this point, and the unfortunate part about
Mahal, that terrible Mahal situation.
Yeah. It's tough for Shinsuke because I think it takes the casual audience longer to get a guy who doesn't speak English and wrestles a very different style than they're used to. if you build him up this much and then have him lose to AJ, it completely legitimizes everything. He's just a guy.
He's just a guy.
And SmackDown needs more top guys.
They need more top guys. I would agree with that.
I think that these two guys burn the house down. This match, we've seen versions of this match, as you mentioned, in other platforms, and it was incredible. I think this match is match of the night, and I think Shinsuke Nakamura wins to go on to SummerSlam and face Daniel Bryan.
I don't know if they could put the title on somebody who doesn't have command of the English language as well, as poorly as Shinsuke does. I think without a mouthpiece, without a Heyman, I don't know if you can necessarily put the belt on him. So, obviously it's going to be match of the night. I don't think anybody's denying that. I think it's one of those things. It's a foregone conclusion. It's going to be the best match of the night. It's going to be one of the best WrestleMania matches of the last 10, 15 years. I still think AJ Styles walks out as champion. And it's not obviously going to be the last match on the card. It's going to be the kind of match that they both understand that it's a great competition. They'll shake hands after. But I still think AJ Styles walks out.
I think they want to squeeze one more out of this feud. And Nick, I'm going to agree with you. I think somehow, some way, Styles gets the win here. But in a way that builds up Nakamura. Almost like Asuka Ember Moon, where we get that desire to still see it one more time, and then to see it actually this time. I think it would come to fruition at whatever the April or May pay-per-view, but I'm going to take Styles as well. Last match that is still not official. I think this is going to main event. Rumor has it, John Cena versus
American Badass,
the American Badass version of Mean Mark Calloway. A very weird
Big
feud
Red
that has
from
been
South Texas Wrestling.
That's right. It's been nothing but John Cena talking shit on television or blasting grams at him.
Quality gram today.
Quality grams. A very interesting scenario, but we saw Dead Undertaker leave his duster and boots and gloves, and he was just running around nude at the end. And it was very awkward at the end of last year's WrestleMania. But does he have one more match in him? Do they have one more money match? We assume this is going to be taking place. I do think it would still be the main event. Hey, Hall of Famer Kid Rock can sing American Badass live in person. You can finally hear that in the Superdome, Nick. I know it's been a dream of yours for a long time.
Can't
wait. And I think that they go ahead and give The Undertaker a win, and I do think this becomes his last WrestleMania match ever. Cena's getting given everybody wins now.
God, I really don't know what direction they're going to go with that.
I don't see what the benefit of John Cena winning this is. There's just nothing there for me.
Yeah,
and I think
and
giving Undertaker one more win
point.
gives him, maybe you can figure out one more dream match out of this thing.
I also see The Undertaker as one of those very old school guys who has that go out on your back mentality. I have a hard time believing.
We thought we saw it last year.
Yeah, no, I have a hard time believing that if he comes back and it's his last match, I think if he beats Cena, I think there's another match. It might not be a WrestleMania match. It might be a SummerSlam match versus Kane or something.
Right.
It might give him another one of those 3-month runs like I had a couple years ago.
So
I have a hard time believing, just knowing how he's talked about things and
supposedly
what the character's become.
He's had hip surgery. He's feeling a lot better now. Yeah. He's spry again. I don't know.
I think he loses to Cena. I think Cena retires him. It becomes this generation's icon retiring last generation's icon. It builds to Cena breaking Ric Flair's championship record.
Nick.
Cena wins. I have literally not cared about The Undertaker
Since Lesnar?
20 years.
Wow.
I think The Undertaker shtick is so stale.
Oh, man.
The entire thing.
There is a young man in East Rochester, New York right now whose soul is
Hi,
melting
Alex.
down through the floor right now.
I can't even remember the last time I was pumped about anything having to do with The Undertaker.
That Undertaker Lesnar mini feud.
No.
Amazing.
No?
No, that sucked too.
Oh, I think
that was
suck.
trash
Undertaker
too.
Lesnar, before that Undertaker Punk that year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Undertaker
Punk
Edge,
was good.
his title
Undertaker
matches
Punk
from
was really
07.
good. Yeah.
But Undertaker Punk was good because of Punk, not because of Undertaker.
Punk did a very good job.
And anything that he's done for the sake of him doing the work his moveset is boring.
What about Bray Wyatt at 30?
No, none of it.
Bray with a broken foot really sabotaged that whole thing.
But I do hope that he does come back and he has his final matches with Kane.
Okay.
And they just both like bury each other.
Knox County Mayor.
Yeah,
Glenn Kane Jacobs.
I don't know if this is the right way for him to go out because, like you said, Cena, there's no win. If either wins,
I don't know what there. Yeah, I have no
there's
idea
no
what
win
it is.
For either to win. So
and that's why I got the Undertaker wing. So you guys both got Cena. I got the Undertaker, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see what happens. We'll see if this match does officially take place. We actually are thinking
I've been
announced
updating my
as tonight.
Twitter just to see if anything's come up.
Yeah.
John Cena tweeted at the Ellen Show 7 minutes ago.
Look out.
Thanking for the gift and promoting a towel for the main event of Raw tonight.
And Dave Meltzer confirms that Shane McMahon is actually legitimately injured.
So that may change things into a triple threat. That would be very intriguing as well.
I mean,
That
from a
actually may be
wrestling
more
perspective, that
interesting.
match should be about 500 times better.
Yeah.
From a storyline perspective, you lose a lot of what the build is. As you mentioned, that's been dominating SmackDown or at least simmering in the background for 6 months at least.
Well, whatever it is, we're looking forward to WrestleMania. Nick, safe travels.
Yeah, I'm
Enjoy
excited to
your
go.
time down there in the bayou.
I'm going to 9 wrestling shows in 5 days.
Attaboy.
If I remember, I will maybe write something up.
Sure.
That'd be sweet.
Drink some
Are you going to
Avita?
Progress when you're down there?
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, I'm going to 9 shows.
You're hitting
Progress
it
is
up.
the one.
Progress.
Are you going to the- yes, you're
WrestleCon.
Janela.
Going to
Joey Janela's Spring Break has the
Bloodsport.
greatest main event I've ever seen of any wrestling show.
NXT.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not going to the Hall of Fame. Ugh, I'm so happy I'm not going to. I went to the Hall of Fame and
Congratulations.
Yeah, I understand
Jeff Jarrett.
I understand the appeal of it. We went to 2 WrestleManias back-to-back years. The first year I went to Hall of Fame, and the second year I didn't. And just the Hall of Fame, it's great if you really are deeply invested in the guy who's headlining it.
Yeah.
And it's terrible if you're not.
It's not very
I'm
good.
glad I went when Sting was going in because I was a big WCW guy in the 90s. And,
Very cool.
But yeah.
All right, well, that does it here for the 716 Sports Podcast. Thanks for listening to our WrestleMania preview show. I'm sure all of these predictions will be correct, and we'll all be 100% somehow. Why? I don't know. Math is weird.
Ties.
But let's not talk about that right now. And I'm trying to come up with a video game reference, and all I can think of is Dr. Mario. So for the yellow virus and the blue virus, I'm the red virus. Thanks for listening. Check us out, 716 Sports Podcast on Facebook, 716 Sports Podcast on Twitter. Please download, subscribe on iTunes, and any other podcasting.
The Grandstand Sports Network.
Yep. Bye.